Hello out there and good morning, traders. It's January 30th, 2024, and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. Let's get into our recap and then we'll update our levels and session plan for today. So taking a look at the recap here, I know this looks like it was a dissonant area from yesterday, but it's not. We were actually referring to this area as an area of balance or value. So our general expectation with scenario one is that we kind of remained in that area there. And then, of course, if we broke out from there, scenario two was on the table for a more energetic breakout, and three, of course, to the downside as well. So we were really just kind of monitoring that overall. In yesterday's DMI, I kind of mentioned to the students that a little bit more of the edge was on the bearish side of things, but we really had to pay attention in this market because every time the bears look like they have some type of control, that really hasn't been working out to targets. And it's been a noticeable pattern for the last, basically 2 months or so. So in this particular situation we find ourselves in the DMI, we ended up seeing a good solid hold into the open here of scenario one, decent MFE across it in our intraday framework, hitting a destination or a target in that intraday framework. Never really getting the legs, though, to head down to the rotational overall contextual target. That was our first clue that the bulls had a little bit more control in this particular value area, in this particular value zone. We ended up coming back up to test the highs there with scenario one still available in this particular area. Never really pushing down below our line in the sand, though, and not getting any real MFE. Our second clue that the bulls were really in charge of this market. And then, of course, we end up seeing the run above our highs and a continuation to the upside, breaking out of our value zone that we had been building for a couple of days now. And that really was kind of checking all the boxes for scenario two there, blasting through our neutral, low ranked reference there and just kind of heading all the way up into that 49.56, 49.50s area before leveling out for the remainder of the session. So that was kind of the story of what was going on yesterday. We had a decent plan around what to do in the case of more rotation and a decent plan around what to do in the case of a breakout. We ended up seeing a little mix of both. So now taking a look at the ES where it is right now. By the time I post this may actually have shifted, so I'm going to cover that a little bit and what we're going over in today's DMI. What's really important about today's DMI is that the current what is picture is bullish off of this upper line in the sand here. This upper line in the sand is going to be a good way to kind of dictate what's going on for the early part of the session. So scenario one is that we hold up above it. If we do hold up above it, that's more of the same trending type of environment we're seeing in the ES, heading up probably into that 89, 88, somewhere up into there. If we don't see that hold, if we actually see the breakdown into scenario two, which would be a breakdown of our line in the sand here, what we will end up seeing is a decent opportunity to short along with some of the higher time frames. The higher time frames have become extended. We're outside of some references, and possible pullbacks if we get below this line in the sand are likely. If we head lower, though, the one tricky part about heading lower is that we end up running into some bullish areas down below. So as we continue to move across this area here, we run into a bullish reference with a value area that we had left behind yesterday. So this was kind of the same area that we were using yesterday, but now that we've broken out from it, it becomes important to us in the auction. If we come back to visit it, the idea is that it holds. If it doesn't hold, we end up running into a destination area on the overall move to the downside here on our lower time frames. But this area, we monitor for inflections, and if that starts to hold, it becomes a bullish zone as well. So as we get lower, this market gets a little bit more bullish. The way the DMI is set up right now, this is a neutral reference because it's a destination overall, but this could turn into a bullish reference if we start to stabilize here and push away from it. In which case, this would kind of be the expectation around that bullish reference kind of moving up, heading back up into this line in the sand area. So that's where we currently find ourselves. In the ES, we're basically looking at an up scenario if we hold, a down scenario if we break. And once we get down into here, we have to really pay attention to the bulls because this kind of whole zone is a destination overall for the pullback, and then a possible hold of that could continue to the upside. Now, if we see a breakdown of this and we just for some reason have an extremely bearish day, obviously we have a destination lower here for the neutral area, and then a really kind of open space zone here for all clears down to short into our overall higher time frame kind of bullish zone. So that's the general breakdown of the DMI for today. As I set up above, this is our main line in the sand for the early part of the session. Pay attention to this zone because as we get down into there, it gets more and more bullish. If we just rip right through it and clear through it, we have lower destinations as well to monitor as this market evolves for today. So make sure that you trade well out there, mind your process, and manage your risk accordingly.